It's another home game for the Bucs, and they're eager to take on the Eagles. Tom Brady will be in town to call the game. Kickoff's at 1 o'clock, right here on Fox 13.
I'm Allie Corey. The home of Tampa Bay football fans is right here on Fox 13. Hurricane Helene is forecast to strengthen as it passes near Florida's west coast. Coming up next, Paul Delgado will have expanded coverage of the newest forecast track and what that means for our Bay Area counties. Plus, we'll show you some ideas for keeping the kids entertained if you should lose power. It's all next at 10.
Next at 10 o'clock, all eyes on the tropics, of course, as a very powerful Hurricane Helene sets its sights on Florida. Everything you need to know, and we are right back with your news and more 60 seconds out.
You're watching Fox 13, and the 10 o'clock news starts now.
I got their whole life on the line, so kind of much trying to do what I can to save everybody else.
That's right now at 10. Hurricane Helene has its eye on Florida's panhandle, and with a width spanning 500 miles, our entire state will feel some impact. This is a storm everyone needs to take seriously. Good evening. I'm Allie Corey.
And I'm Mark Wilson. So glad to have you with us tonight. It is a race to finish preparing. We're going to start feeling the tropical storm force winds first thing in the morning, so you'll want to finalize your plans tonight and get ready to feel more impacts from Helene.
We do have a team of reporters up and down the coast as families got their homes and themselves ready. We want to begin with Chief Meteorologist Paul Delgado with the very latest timing, Paul.
Yeah, got a big band of rain coming up the coast right now. We'll show you that on Sky Tower. We'll do a big overview right now and again to specifics at 10:20. Here's the developing hurricane between the point it is now and the landfall point up by the Big Bend tomorrow evening. Water temps are running about 85 to 86 degrees. It's the loop current right here. Warmest water in the Gulf is pretty much underneath the storm during its entire path to landfall. On top of that, the shear is relaxing. A lot of water content in the atmosphere, and tomorrow I think the intensification really ramps up. Big rain band is coming up the coast now. We'll show you that in a sec. Cat 1 at 8 o'clock. Stick with us. New advisory comes in at 11. Not expecting a big change in intensification. That process will really get going late tonight and tomorrow. It's going to parallel our coast. Unfortunately, it's going to get dangerously close to Tallahassee, and the hope is it stays a little east of them. East is good. Over or to the west is really bad. Again, if it moves east, someone else is in the way, but that's the story for the capital. It'll stay far enough away to keep the core of the hurricane offshore. However, it's a big storm. We'll have tropical storm force winds and probably some hurricane force gusts along the coast. And the timing of that looks to be like midday-ish to tomorrow evening should be the strongest winds. And then it goes all the way up towards Atlanta with problems for that. Oh, here's the rain. This is one big rain band kind of sweeping up from the south. We had a few earlier today. As the night goes on, as tomorrow arrives, these rain bands become more frequent. They kind of fill in, and as the rain bands go by, the winds will gust 30, 35 miles an hour. More rain lurking to the south. Hurricane hunters are out there right now. Flights from Biloxi, flights from Lakeland, crisscrossing the sky and taking data samples, and a lot of that data goes into our hurricane models. We'll have more of that and more specifics for your Thursday forecast at 10:20. I'll see you then.
All righty, Paul, thanks. As you know, our northern counties are really going to take the brunt of the storm, at least for those of us in the entire Tampa Bay area. Let's look at Citrus here in Hernando County. Major concern about the storm surge to the north of us, to the north of the immediate area. Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco counties. Can't forget about Pasco. Anybody who lives west of US 19 is being asked to evacuate. Citrus and Hernando counties, again, people are bracing for a lot of water pushing onto shore from Helene. And those along the coast used today to prepare for what the storm very well may bring. Let's go out to Fox 13's Genevieve Curtis, live in Hernando Beach, where they've seen some water before. Hi there, Genevieve. I know you spoke with some who chose to get out and ride the storm out at a nearby hotel, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And if there is any question about how people in Hernando Beach feel about this hurricane, it says it all right here. It says, go away, Helene, right here at Sherman's Tropical Trader. But a lot of folks, as you mentioned, are accustomed to these hurricanes here in Hernando County. But there are evacuation orders in place right now. The evacuation zones for A, B, and C, that is everything basically west of US 19, as you mentioned. And many people people are accustomed to these storms, but this time officials warning tonight, they want to make sure that people hear this message that this storm is different. And earlier, as we mentioned, there are lots of people leaving the beach here, heading to hotels. We talked to lots of folks who have evacuated from these areas and are staying in hotels in Spring Hill and a little bit into higher ground. There are shelters available in the county, but county officials are asking folks who are evacuating to use those shelters as a last resort. They are asking people to try to first stay with friends or family. For now, reporting live in Hernando Beach, Genevieve Curtis, Fox 13 News.
All right, Genevieve, thank you. You know, residents along the Gulf Coast in Pasco County also bracing for storm surge. If you have not heeded evacuation orders, there is still time left. While Zone A is under a mandatory evacuation, the county says B and C should consider leaving as well. Fox 13's Evan Moon is in Newport Richey tonight. And Evan, we know emergency management officials, they really are hoping that people are heeding their warnings, right?
Hi, Allie. Yeah, county officials are saying get out, especially if you're in those high-risk flood zones, those Zone A mandatory evacuation zones. But as we were driving around Newport Richey and Pasco County today, we found that a lot of people are planning on staying or deciding tomorrow morning if they need to get out. But again, most people we spoke to in neighborhoods across Newport Richey are saying they'll decide tomorrow morning. County officials say the storm surge could start around 8 a.m. and they cannot send high water rescue teams out in tropical storm force winds. The county has deployed over 3 dozen pumps in high flood zone areas, and they do have 6 shelters open across Pasco. And the Florida Division of Emergency Management is offering people free Uber rides to those locations if you need it. Now, there's more information on those shelter locations and those free rides at mypasco.net. But again, city officials telling us you should get out tonight. Don't wait until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Allie.
Evan Moon live for us tonight. Evan, thanks.
Thousands showed up all along our coast under mandatory evacuations that are right now, and that includes everybody in Zone A, which is a lot of Pinellas. Also Zone A's in Hillsborough County. Hernando County residents in Zones A, B, and C, they all get to evacuate. They've been ordered. And Citrus County, for those living in Zone A or any structure that's not capable of withstanding tropical storm force winds, must evacuate. In Pasco County, Zone A evacuation orders in place as well, and then there are voluntary evacuations for Zones B and C. And then to Sarasota County, there are evacuation orders for everyone in Zone A, as well as the Forked Creek neighborhood in Englewood, Curry Creek, and then also Hatchet Creek a little bit further south in Venice. And then back up in Manatee County, evacuations underway for everybody who lives in Zone A there as well. So pretty much every Zone A in our viewing area has already got the mandatory order. Those who may not have a place to go, emergency evacuation shelters are there for you. They're open across our area. This is video of the Durant High School shelter in Plant City. This is one of many in Hillsborough County that is pet friendly. We know that's a concern for many of you, many of us. You can find a full list of open shelters in your area. Just go county by county on our website, fox13news.com. There's a whole breakdown, everything you need to know right there. We're updating that 24/7 here. And much of the Tampa area is going to close down tomorrow. Hurricane Helene.
If anyone is at the airport, what we are going to do is make arrangements to get them.
Well, in a matter of hours, Tampa International Airport and St. Pete Clearwater International Airport will close because of Helene.
Yeah, evacuation orders, of course, all along the coast are forcing that. Some families got out of Dodge on those last flights. And Fox 13's Brianna Arredondo is live tonight at Tampa International Airport with more on this. Hi there, Brianna. What have you noticed there today and tonight?
Hey, so Mark and Ellie, I can tell you that we saw people waiting here for their flights to leave earlier this afternoon when we were here. Now it's pretty much cleared out. There are some passengers that are coming in on late arriving flights. And if you look at this board here, there was a lot of red from canceled flights, delayed flights, and flights that are going to be coming in around 11:55, midnight, just kind of scooting in right before the airport closes down at 2 a.m. And the airfield here at the airport is not the only area getting prepped here in the city of Tampa. Yeah, and I can also tell you that passengers are not allowed to stay here at the airport overnight. They're also making announcements about this on the speaker system as passengers arrive, so that way they just have those reminders. If anyone does need any arrangements, though, and they can't find a place to stay, they are kind of moving them to nearby shelters so they can be in a safe place to ride this out. As for the city of Tampa, you know, they're encouraging residents to sign up for alerts so that way they can make sure that they stay updated on any flooding alerts delays, road closures, and much more. Live here at Tampa International Airport, Brianna Arredondo, Fox 13 News.
All righty, Brianna, thanks very much. Take a look at this time lapse we want to show you now from one of our Sky Tower cameras. Yeah. Pretty wild when Mother Nature starts flexing her muscles. This day started out beautiful and sunny, but deteriorated pretty quickly. Getting cloudy, then rainy as these first bands from Helene move through. Many of you were wondering, were these really the bands from the storm? Yes. That's how big this storm is. Right. As Paul told us earlier, 500 miles wide this thing is, and the rain is only going to creep up from here, right, Paul? Yeah, look at that outer circulation. Look how fast those clouds are moving today. It really just multiply tomorrow, and the bands become more frequent. In fact, now there's a band underway. Look at the blurry view on the Sarasota cam. Got some rain coming down in the city, and that rain continues to kind of ride up the coastlines. You see that coming down in the foreground. And pretty soon it'll be raining in downtown St. Pete with one of the rain bands coming up from the south. Already winds east at 20. Blowing across the open bay. Been watching the satellite presentation really all day today, and as far as science goes, it's improving, and that means that it's a sign that intensification is underway. It's now moving away from the Yucatan, and now the motion is pretty much locked in. There's area of high pressure east of us. There's a trough over the lower Mississippi Valley, so simply put, the storm is going in between the high and the low and kind of gets in that little channel and moves along. Here's some of the rain bands. So this is moving quickly to the north and northwest. Some of the rain bands going by today, we're moving 40 to 45 miles an hour. I mean, it would come down like crazy, and then a couple of more sweeps of the radar. It's in the next county. That's how quickly the rain is going. This will be over there pretty soon, and then other bands will come up from the south. As I said, rain moving into Pinellas. This is the 8 o'clock advisory. We'll get new track data coming up at 11 o'clock. Not expecting a big change. The hurricane will pass west of us, and I don't use wording like this very often, but if this storm, the core, gets over or to the west of Tallahassee, it's going to be a catastrophic situation for them because the storm is moving so fast. Yeah, it'll weaken some, but a lot of the 100, 110, 120 winds could make it into the capital. I mean, hoping for some sort of shift, and it could happen to the east that would keep the core away from the capital, but certainly not a good situation. Then down the road, the storm gets up by Atlanta. Again, it's moving so fast, it'll transport the winds along with it as it moves inland. This happened in Charlotte when Hugo moved onshore in South Carolina in 1989. Same type of thing could happen in Atlanta, and then eventually even Knoxville and Nashville could have some wind impacts down the road. Back home we go. Here's a storm surge. A lot of these numbers kind of in the ballpark of Idalia, but in many spots a couple of feet higher, and that's as a storm bypasses. Now, there's not a really, this tide cycle tomorrow, not a big difference between high and low. A foot here, a half foot here. So generally speaking, it's kind of a neutral day as far as tides go. And that's going to be mainly in the afternoon and at night tomorrow. So here's our Fox model showing some of the stronger winds. You see, you got 50 to 60 bumping on shore. A lot less wind inland. The strongest winds, without a doubt, are going to be along the coastline where there could be hurricane force gusts. Elsewhere, it's mainly tropical storm force winds during the day. And then this path is critical on how close it gets to Tallahassee. If the eye can stay 30, 40 miles east, it's bad, but not too bad. Over the capital or west of the capital is not good at all. And then look at the winds up in Atlanta. What else here? Athens, and then you got Clemson, you got the upstate, Greenville, and then even if it's maybe up by Asheville, and then so it's a whole bunch of mountainous areas that could have significant wind damage Friday into Saturday. Here's the wind futurecast. The smaller numbers are wind gust. The white numbers are sustained winds. So tomorrow morning, 25 to 30. You want to get over the bridges early. I think it's okay. But as the day moves along, the wind speeds certainly pick up. You're talking wind gusts 60, 65 miles an hour in the afternoon and evening. And then the storm gets by us and the winds start going west-southwest with some high water coming in along our beaches. Now,
no one likes to lose power, and the risk of that will certainly go up tomorrow into tomorrow evening, and then that power outage risk gets really, really high up by the Big Bend as the hurricane moves onshore. As far as rainfall goes, now the good news is the storm is going to move quickly, which minimizes the time we have for the rain to add up. But the rain should still be significant. You can see the sharp gradient, a lot near the coast, really not that much inland. On Friday and Saturday, there'll be a plume of tropical moisture over us, and that means additional showers and thunder showers, kind of tropical rain that'll develop Friday and Saturday. This is not a hurricane that goes by and it gets nice and dry and the sky gets blue. There's a big change. We'll probably have some soupy tropical air for a couple of days. Periods of rain, increasing wind late. Tomorrow, gusty winds, some storm surge issues in the afternoon. Then on Friday, kind of variably cloudy, tropical showers in the mix, but not raining all day. Same thing over the weekend. Off and on showers as temps stay in the upper 80s. We're back in a bit.
You know, sadly, a lot of families are going to lose power here in the next couple of days because of Helene, especially along our coast.
But a fleet of power crews is ready to respond and get you out of the dark. Fox 13's Jennifer Vaglis is live outside Tropicana Field tonight. And Jennifer, it's not just crews from here. We actually have a lot of help that came in from other states.
Yeah, Allie, Mark, right behind me here at the Trop, there are about 350 different trucks, utility trucks, tree trimmers, and special operations vehicles, all ready to respond to Hurricane Helene. Now, both of these companies ask for everyone's patience as these power outages begin. But in the meantime, be sure that you have things on standby like flashlights, extra batteries, and candles. I'm reporting live in Pinellas County. Jennifer Vaglis, Fox 13 News.
All right. Yeah, that is a full field right there, full of trucks.
Here we go. Yep.
Paul is going to be joining us after the break.
Yeah, he's going to answer some viewers' questions about Helene. Also, our coastal areas bracing for this storm. Folks in our barrier islands have been told to evacuate. Why some of them, though, are going to have their water cut off tomorrow, whether they're staying or going. We'll tell you why when we come back. So Paul's back with us now. Answer some questions tonight. So many people have so many questions.
You know, and I had sometimes the viewers will give you some good ideas, and they said, Paul, you talk so much about Tallahassee, but where is it on the map? Because you assume you just know.
Most people know, right?
And I said, you know what? You're right. So what I did is we zoomed in, and the middle point, the line here, going through Leon County, is the track, and there you can see clearly Tallahassee, and you even said, Mark, that the city is kind of like is the second A.
It's about where the H is. You know. I mean, it's right there.
So now again, this doesn't mean the storm doesn't have to be right in this line, and that's the forecast. And the storm is down by the Yucatan. So at 11 o'clock, we'll see if that line is going to end up shifting. It's better to shift to the right than to the left, to be honest with you. So that's the situation up in Tallahassee. If that was to verify, and it would be, and I don't talk like this often, it would be a catastrophic situation for the capital, because it'll weaken some, but even if we could say to a Category 2, a Category 2 over the capital is a really big deal.
Well, an interesting point, we have an older city full of these giant trees that they're going to become umbrellas, and they're going to come up out of the ground, and they're going to knock power down, they're going to knock lines down, they're going to fall on houses. That's what we're going to see. Yeah, so we're going to see at 11 o'clock. We'll show the same graphic again at 11, and we're hoping. I was going to be careful because someone else's good fortune is bad fortune, so you don't want to say move this way, that way, but we'll see. That narrow. Yeah, it's amazing though. If the hurricane ends up, say, 30 miles east of Tallahassee, I'm not saying it's okay. But if they're on the good side and they're out of the core of the storm, they don't want to be in that core of the hurricane. That's the worst place to be.
Okay, so storm surge.
We'll watch that.
Yeah, we're watching that obviously because that's landfall. So tomorrow, if you're getting ready to go to bed, tomorrow the most active time for our area is right in the afternoon.
Yeah, it kind of looks like I'm thinking like late morning through evening looks like the worst. I think anyone that's concerned about going over the bridges. Somehow, if you're going to work tomorrow, you have to go to work 7, 8 o'clock. I think it's going to be okay. Coming back may not be so good. Midday-ish, kind of like Debbie. I mean, Debbie was a day where I said, you just don't want you want to be off the roads. We'll wake up tomorrow morning and we'll get some daylight and see what the first light of the day looks like on top of the hurricane, and see what it looks like at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Skyway will be the first one. They usually close at 40 miles an hour, and then the other 3 generally around sustained 45. So.
Yeah, some of that overwash going over those bridges, the Howard Frank, all of them.
Look how much damage there was actually damage to the causeway coming back on the Howard Franklin.
It's that south wind that blows perpendicular to the bridge, and that south wind would occur later in the day. In the morning, it's more of an east and southeast wind, but late in the day, it goes perpendicular to the bridge, and that kind of pushes the water on the entrance ways on both sides, the Tampa side and the St. Pete side.
And Gandy's a little bit lower, doesn't have that, so that's usually the last to close.
Gandy's mostly bridge. The problem with is the Gandy side, but the St. Pete side, but that's kind of protected a little bit.
Off the road. Yeah, same.
All right. Paul, thanks. We'll see you in just a bit.
Yeah.
Well, as Paul mentioned, Hurricane Helene could come very close to Tallahassee, as we were just looking at. Residents spent the day there filling up sandbags and gathering supplies as the storm continues its path toward Florida. And as you can expect, many people there in Tally are nervous about this storm. So if you live in evacuation zone A in Pinellas or in a mobile home anywhere in the county, officials say that you should already be out or on the way out. County leaders are expecting an unprecedented storm surge, 5 to 8 feet. For perspective, Pinellas got about 4 feet of storm surge during Idalia when more than 1,500 homes flooded. When the water and conditions get to a certain point, first responders say they may not be able to get to you. If you do need a place to go, they have opened 6 shelters across Pinellas County. Deputies were out on the beaches today letting people know about the mandatory evacuations. The saturated ground, it's a big concern as well. High winds could knock down trees and power lines, so county leaders say expect power outages. Crews have also been out clearing ditches and drains and pumping down bodies of water, but they say there's only so much they can do with the amount of water expected.
And the city of Sarasota says they may very well shut off their water to St. Armand's and then Lido Key tomorrow, as well as Siesta Key and Casey Key. They do that because they need to protect the city's infrastructure from any storm surge, basically getting into the water supply. They don't want that. Residents in coastal communities from Manatee and Sarasota counties all spent the day there preparing. Businesses boarded up a lot of windows. A lot of folks placed out sandbags in front of their homes and stores. A lot of teamwork happening, thankfully, as we see across Florida, with employees from other stores even here helping in Sarasota and Manatee, and residents too.
The whole island, we're a family, you know. I mean, there's a small village. We all kind of come together, you know, make sure people are safe. Obviously, taking precautions. You never know what we're in for, you know, how storms work and how they go. So it could be really extreme here or could not be, but it's just important for everybody to come together as a community, you know, make sure everybody's staying safe and the businesses are here intact and don't take much water damage or flooding.
Yeah, residents on the barrier islands in both Sarasota and Manatee counties have received an evacuation alert already.
So here's a look at Key West from just a short time ago. This is the southernmost point, and look there, you can see some huge waves breaking over the seawall there. Bands from Helene bringing high wind and waves to the island.
All right, so if you're in a evacuation zone on one of our major Bay Area bridges that's part of that evacuation route, keep in mind bridges are going to close once they become unsafe to drivers. Here's a look at this, a live look over the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. And why is that shaking? Well, it's shaking because there's already some winds up there. This is a live look for it. FHP, again, they tell us they will likely shut down the Skyway at some point tomorrow. The moment that winds reach generally sustained around 40 miles per hour. And as you heard Paul say, that could very well happen. Maybe late morning, as late as probably noon. So for those other bridges, Howard Franklin, Courtney Campbell, and the Gandy, they're so close to the water surface, they're likely going to shut down tomorrow as well, but probably after the Skyway is closed. So they shut those down once winds are sustained at 45 miles per hour. So plan ahead if you need an eastbound route to get away from the Gulf Coast. Typically, keep this in mind, the Gandy Bridge, just because Paul said it is a little bit lower, that's usually less susceptible to the winds. That's usually the last one to close, and there was a lot of damage at the Tampa side of the Howard Franklin just a month ago, and we've seen that time and time again. So that will likely be the first one to close of those big 3.
So just be prepared.
Yep.
You know, we're going to feel tropical storm strength winds here, and that means power is likely to go out. We do have some ideas of how you can keep your kids busy when those lights are out.
Can't wait for that. Hopefully there's some adult fun there as well. How about Helene? This is what it looked like when it was along the Mexico coast as a tropical storm is still packing quite a punch. Much more straight ahead here on Fox 13. So before it was a hurricane, Tropical Storm Helene battered Mexico's coastal resorts from Cozumel to Cancun. That's really where this thing started. Rain, high waves, a lot of wind, streets are flooded, trees were knocked down, and as you can see from Just this video is pretty powerful storm already before it really got going, with a lot of rain as well.
So let's say that you do lose power during the storm and you start to hear the "I'm bored" from your kids. Well, we've got some simple ways to keep them busy while having fun at the same time. If you want to stay out of trouble, light some candles, dust off the board games, and dabble in some Scrabble. Now, don't get boggled if that doesn't work. You can try a simple coloring book. That'll probably keep them hooked for about a half an hour. But when that goes sour, you should pull out a puzzle, something the whole family can devour. And if you're looking to get their energy out, which they'll have tons of it being stuck inside, you have access to a charged tablet. Search kids' exercise videos on YouTube, and you can challenge them to complete the entire thing. And then one of my faves, building a fort. You can bring some books and flashlights inside and share stories. And really the goal, we were talking about this, guys, is to distract the kids so that the adults can have a little relaxation time. Right? Am I right, Scott?
I think that's, yeah. To me, I just give my kids a candle and I tell them to get ahead. All right, coming to the sports. The Bucs not only taking care of some storm preps today over at $1, but preparing for a very tough Eagles team once that storm finally does pass. More from $1 coming up on the other side. And the Rays running out of wiggle room, backs against the wall tonight in the Motor City, playing to keep their playoff hopes alive. But was there any more gas in the tank? Sports is next. Often use the term must win, and the must isn't really must. But tonight in Detroit, the Rays came in trailing. It's kind of like when the Bucs went to Detroit, and that was the team that ended their season a year ago, and they got amped for that, and they came out with the win. Well, the Eagles were the team that the Bucs ended their season in the playoffs a year ago. So there's plenty on the line. Coming up week 4, a 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox 13 this Sunday, Paul.
Yeah, storm will be long gone by then, and hopefully rest of the hurricane season will be quiet. Not quiet tonight, Scott, tracking the storm, which is moving away from the Yucatan. We're waiting for the 11 o'clock advisory, because now any small track shifts are going to make a big difference. We're not expecting a huge uptick in wind speeds. That'll probably happen later tonight and tomorrow when the storm moves away from the Yucatan. Tonight, as far as weather goes, off and on areas of rain kind of whipping up from the south and these squalls go by, and here's some heavier rain on your roof. That'll go by. Could be a long lull, and another band of rain will kind of whip up from the south. And tomorrow, this rain will become more persistent during the day. Still, look at the 11 o'clock. Usually when it's a pretty straightforward update, the update comes in 10:40, 10:45. When there's a lot to update, it's a big storm, it's usually right at 11 o'clock. So this is still the 8 o'clock update. Top winds 85. It's going to move quickly. This is not a storm that's going to dilly-dally. It'll be a quick hitter. It'll go north and northeast, pick up in speed, accelerate, and then be up in sections of Georgia by Friday. In fact, by tomorrow night at this time, it's going to be onshore and probably moving into Georgia. It's going to move quickly when it bypasses us. We're going to keep, I think, the core of the hurricane off the coast, which is really, the hurricane force winds here are in red. The orange is 60 plus. The yellow is tropical storm force winds, which pretty much cover the entire state. The main concern with tropical storm force winds, doesn't matter where you are, is losing power. I mean, that's the big, you're not going to talk about structural damage for the most part with tropical storm force winds. If there's damage, it's because a tree limb or tree, something fell on your property. As far as storm surge goes, 5 to 8 around Tampa Bay, and the numbers go as high as 15 to 20 in the Big Bend. So I'm back at 11. We'll talk about the new 11 o'clock advisory, and I'll see you then.
Well, crews completed their aqua fence at Tampa General Hospital.
It is designed to hold back the storm surge of a Category 3 hurricane. The fence is 9 feet tall. It stretches 1,000 feet around the entire hospital. And they say flooding actually is what holds the fence up in a storm.
So the weight of the water actually supports the wall, and we bolted into the ground to keep the wind from blowing it over before the water gets here.
Officials at TGH say that they can't evacuate patients because there aren't enough hospital beds in the entire region to accommodate that. And they also have a plan to move all patients and staff to upper floors if a storm surge threatens to go over the fence.
It really is amazing technology getting a lot of attention, understandably so, nationwide. Yeah. So Sounds like something we might see more of down the road from other places as these continue. All right, so for some who are new to our area, some of you have never been through a hurricane before. We get it.
Yeah, and that includes actually some of our professional sports athletes. We're going to hear from some of them next.